This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses. I wanted to do a bit of a follow-up on the Tonemaster Super Reverb. One of the reasons that I bought this thing was so that my buddy Jake Loosemore, who, if you've not checked out his playing, you might dig it, sort of really tasteful, great tone kind of chap. He lives near me, he plays in a band, in a function band, and normally what he uses for his gigs are either a Sir Bella with a microphone, because he uses in-ear monitors, or a Fender Vibreverb he's been using as well. Sort of normal function stuff, so there's a mixture of funky stuff in there, rock stuff and all that sort of thing. Now, occasionally he does gigs, and like we all do, where you have like a fairly awkward load-in. And so the reason that the Tonemaster stuff in general was of interest to both him and me was that you know, it's very lightweight, and that is one thing that is super impressive about what Fender have done. You know, put together a 4x10 which weighs 36 pounds. You know, it is really, I think, quite an impressive feat to get a thing here that you can sort of pick up with the one finger. You know, certainly not going to give you as many back issues as some other things. The other thing that's kind of note was that you can plug it in, not have to worry about a microphone that you're occasionally going to kick or whatever. Those are the two things that are interesting, okay? So first of all, the lightness and the build quality, and I think you can't really dispute that. Now, the one thing that I think is a little bit lacking on these is the line output. That's what I was using in the intro, so let me know your thoughts on that, Tone. Did you dig that? I was using this pedal board into it, so we got a little bit of compression from the Tone workstation, then occasionally the blues breaker I was kicking on, And then for the main lead tone, that's the Van Wilden Royal Overdrive. And the HX Stomp's just doing a tiny bit of delay. It's, for me, one of the areas where, so basically you've got two settings on the back of here. You've got a cabinet sim, which could be on, off, or 1 and 2. And I think I had it on setting 2. I just think it sounds a little bit flat there. What I might actually try is turning that cabinet sim off altogether and just chucking an IR in front of it and see if that's better, because that might actually be an interesting thing. Hold on. In the room, it actually sounds, I think, really good. I'll try and play you some camera audio here. It's not as thick and full as I remember. I've been playing a Fender Pro Reverb downstairs, which is quite fun. So here we add some drive. This is on the cabinet sim 2. Cab sim. That's an SM57. Here we turn it off and I'm going to add an IR in the DAW. So that's kind of, I think, a summary of my thoughts on this thing. It's quite expensive. I think about £1,300 is the new price of one of these. And I do think that that cabinet output, particularly if you're going to be going direct into in-ears, I don't think necessarily you'd be hugely happy with that. And in which case, you've got to bring a mic with it anyway. And I'm pretty convinced that something like a bog standard Fender Deluxe Reverb, you know, 22 watt valve amp, I'm going to go out on a limb and presume that most folks at least would find that to be, and part of it might be placebo, but just as pleasing as a Tonemaster. And you can pick those up for sort of around £800 generally in the UK, or something like a Hot Rod Deluxe, right? You can pick those up for £300-400, or something like a PV Classic 30. You can pick those up for around sort of £300. And that then makes me think, you know, well, yes, it's lightweight, but quite expensive. And wouldn't you be happier with a tube amp generally? And I've got a tube amp in the car, which is kind of lighter than this. Is an 8 kilogram head. So I do think they sound really good in the room. Jake didn't find that it took pedals particularly well in his ears. Personally, that's got to be down to the IRs that they've loaded on here. I should have said actually, so Jake has tried a few different things in this vein. So he's tried my HX Stomp and he doesn't love the Line 6 stuff, but I think he still rated that above this in terms of his experience. He really likes the fractal stuff, and on his board for this kind of thing now, he has a Universal Audio Dream 65, which I really liked as well. And for feel and in-ear monitor stuff and taking pedals, I think the Dream 65 is what he's landed on as being the better solution. And basically that renders this thing as not having a place within his rig. So either you just go all out direct with something like Universal Audio Dream 65, the Helix, the HX Stomp, Fractal, or just use your tube amp with a mic. This occupies that sort of in-between space, and maybe with that line out being the way that it is, doesn't really solve the problem particularly well, because the Universal Audio you can change in your IRs, and obviously with Helix and Fractal you can do that stuff as well. And now in the future, possibly, I don't know if Fender are ever going to do this sort of thing, but they could make it so you could load your own IRs in there, in which case I think probably most of us have had experiences with modelers and stuff. Many times it's a case that you need to experiment with finding your own IRs or third-party IRs that work best for you. Generally not the case that you get great tones straight away that are exactly to your liking if there's only one or two IR choices or the original speaker. And so for that reason, I think that is why that line out maybe isn't going to work for everyone super well. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you tried a Tonemaster, did you dig it, did you not? The difference, this super reverb actually is ply construction, but I think the Princeton and the Deluxe Reverb Tonemasters and maybe even the Twin are solid pine. So I do think they're doing something really cool. One other key thing that they've really missed the trick on, you see you got 4 inputs here, like on the real kind of super reverb. I have no idea why they didn't give you a power amp in with the Tonemaster series. So like Katanas now have that, and the Line 6 Catalyst, because I would love to plug a modeler into something like this, which is like a lightweight, proper guitar speaker unit. To be able to bypass the inputs would be an absolute great thing to be able to do and give it a whole other bunch of uses. You can't do that, even though you've got these kind of 4 jack inputs, so it's not like they've skimped on anything in that way. Just I think a bit of an oversight. I don't know why they didn't put that in. There was a whole bunch of other people that were interested in buying something like this, because I'd love to have like a lightweight 4x10 speaker to plug a modeler into with a power amp built in. I think it's a 100-watt power amp or something like that, isn't it? That would be a totally useful thing, you know, a nice big open back speaker. It's going to sound like a real guitar speaker, presumably, if you could do that, but you can't, and that's one of the key things that I think Fender missed with these. So yeah, that's the Tonemaster. I won't be keeping this, so if you're looking for one, you could have it. Cheers.